After writing 2 transformational books myself and supporting many other beings to do the same, I've become enthralled by the deep and mysterious magic that's activated when we choose to say yes to ourselves and commit to the book writing journey. Of course, we want to inspire change and new perspectives in our readers, but the transformation that happens as an author, both throughout the writing process and by actually releasing your book into the world, is surprisingly potent. I know I've been blindsided in the most disruptive and delicious ways by some of the changes my books have brought into my life. Writing a book is like casting a spell. Although we can never be completely sure what's going to be unleashed during the process, we choose to do it anyway. This Unbound one is a heroic journey. Each book has the potential to be a magical portal, a doorway to a new world, both for you and your reader. Each book has a very specific medicine that it's here to share with us. And each book gives us the opportunity to alchemize the magnificent imperfection of our experience into gold. The truth is that anyone can write a book. We could all get a few thousand words down and put them together. But what fascinates me is what happens when we allow the book writing process to go deeper. When we say, fuck it, get naked and dive way down beneath the surface. Letting go of the shoulds and any need to be acceptable, sensible, or approved of. What fascinates me is what happens when we make ourselves fully available to being transformed by the very act of writing a book. This is Unbound Writing, and this is the process we'll be exploring together here in the Unbound Writers Club. I'm Nicola, author and founder of the Unbound Press, and I help magical beings to write the transformational book they're really here to write at this time. I'm your guide here in the Unbound Writers Club, and the aim of this podcast is to help you to feel supported, encouraged, activated as you embark on your book writing journey. Whether you're a first-time author or have many books out in the world, my hope is that you will find something here to inspire you. Let's dive in. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Unbound Writers Club. This week, we are talking about how to create your own solo writing retreat. So how to carve out some focused, dedicated time for your writing. The reason I'm talking about this is I have just returned from my own solo writing retreat. I decided, well, I know that this year is the year definitely when my next book will be released, The Abundant Author. It has been in the works for, I don't know, probably about 2 years. And like last year, it really dropped in around what the book wanted to be. I was really exploring for a long time exactly what the focus would be. So last year it became clear, yes, this is about the abundant author, how to create an offering around your book, like based on your book, that can channel abundance of all kind to you, but certainly financial abundance. So in fact, a lot of that clarity, like the more kind of like specific clarity, really dropped in during this retreat that I'm just back from. So I can talk about this book in a much more powerful way now because I really know what it is. But like I said, it's been bubbling for a while, and I knew that 2024, like it had to be the year when this book gets to make its way into the world. And I want to get the manuscript completed as early as possible in the year. I'm aiming to have the manuscript complete by the end of February. As I'm recording this, we're right at the beginning of the month. And, you know, I had a lot written already, but I wanted to have some time away where I could just have some clear space, look at what's already there, fill in some of the gaps, start bringing the manuscript together. I know that, I'm a big fan of like small and mighty chunks of time. We do that a lot in the Unbound Writing community. We've just had our January writing sprint in the Unbound Writers Club membership. And the invitation there was to write, for 5 minutes or more every day. I'm a huge, huge fan of that style of writing. That works really well for me until I get to a certain point. And then when I want to be more focused and this point of moving towards completion, then it works well for me to have, like I said, some clear space where I'm not being distracted by other things. Like I totally was distracted on retreat some of the time, but we'll get to that. But, if I can just have 2 or 3 days of like focused, clear space, then I can make a lot of progress. I know that's how it works for me. So that's what I booked in for myself. I found an Airbnb in one of my favorite places in the New Forest here in the south of England. It's like 30 minutes from where I live. This amazing, it's like a cabin where it was right in the forest, like you could walk out into the forest. So it felt like the perfect spot for me. And I wanted to talk about it here in the Unbound Writers Club on the podcast, because I know it's something what you might be thinking about right now. I know quite a lot of Unbound writers have, created their own personal writing retreats recently. It's something that can be really helpful to do on a regular basis. And it doesn't have to be elaborate. A solo writing retreat, it could be an afternoon that you take yourself off somewhere. So, as I'm speaking about this today and sharing some of my insights, what to be aware of when you are creating your own writing retreat experience, then I invite you to open up your mind about what that might be. Because maybe it is you don't go anywhere. Maybe you take yourself, like you create a really gorgeous space in your home for you. You let everyone know I am not to be disturbed. And you have a day or half a day with just you and your book. Like we get to be creative about how we do this. Or maybe you do kind of book yourself an Airbnb or a hotel and take yourself off somewhere. I'm a big fan as well of group writing retreats. They're really powerful, but there is something about like having this time to yourself with your book, which is really, really yummy. So the first thing I want to say, I guess, is like there's no right way to do this. Like you can make a retreat out of anything. It can absolutely happen in your own home. You can take yourself off for a day, half a day, a couple of days, 3 days, like as long as you want. It gets to be exactly what feels good for you and what works for you. Maybe you have like a solo writing retreat. I don't know why I've lost my voice. I haven't been speaking to anyone for 3 days. But maybe you get to have a solo writing retreat like every week, maybe one afternoon, one morning, every week you take yourself off somewhere. Like what would feel good for you at your stage in your writing process? The second thing is, and I found this, it can be tempting when we've carved out this time for ourselves, particularly if you've taken yourself off, you've booked somewhere to stay, we can kind of build up the pressure of what is going to happen in that space. I know I did this a little bit. It was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to bring the manuscript together over these 3 days. Like I'm going to get to the point of completion whilst I'm away on retreat. That definitely did not happen. And that's fine. Like I've given myself to the end of this month and there is still definitely more to do. The reason I'm sharing this is, we can pile this pressure on ourselves. It's like, well, I better make this worth it if I'm taking this time away from everything else. Maybe you're taking time away from your family, from your business, from your partner, from your pets, like whatever it is. And we can really have these high expectations of what's going to be created. And actually what I found, like I did do like a fair bit, I made good progress with my writing whilst I was away. But what was more powerful were really in the times when maybe I was going out for a walk. I mean, I was in the forest, so I wanted to make sure that I was making the most of that and getting out in nature. Walking is always so powerful for me. And it was the clarity that dropped in the spaces when I was out for a walk, or I was like in the bath, or I was doing the washing up. There were times when the washing up was infinitely more preferable than actually sitting down and writing my book. And that's okay, because the spaces in between the writing are just as powerful, or have the potential to be just as powerful, or more powerful even than the times we are sitting down and writing. Because the pieces of clarity that landed for me, and it started to happen before the retreat. So it's like this is another thing, like I'm just getting really excited. But when we make this commitment to ourselves and our book, when we like carve out the time, we put it in our calendar, maybe you book somewhere to stay, like that starts to activate something in your book writing process. And for me, the clarity started to land like in the week before I headed off on retreat. And absolutely, as I was there, because I'd told myself, okay, I'm going to aim to write for like 3 hours a day, like in hour-long chunks. So in between that space, I was like going off for a walk or watching a bit of TV or, reading a book or whatever it was. And so much that these different layers of clarity landed. Like I'm so clear now around what the book is, what the book wants to be, how I can bring it together. And in last week's episode, we were talking about, what to do when you get to the complete, like how to complete your book. And that's very much the vibe that I was experiencing when I was away on retreat. So my piece of advice here is like, leave yourself space. Yes, you're taking yourself off with the intention of spending time with your book, like in process, but you get to mix it up. It's not all about the writing. Allow yourself enough space around your writing so that any new clarity can drop in, or you just get to chill. Like, it's not some kind of deal. Okay, I can take this time for myself, but only if I kind of rigidly sit down and write for hours and hours every day. No, you get to feed your soul as the writer, as the creative, as the author you are. And that means taking space for yourself. So let go of expectations. The second piece, and I found this really, really fascinating, what I realized when I was away on retreat, it was kind of end of January up to February the 1st in bulk. And I realized that exactly 4 years ago, in end of January, beginning of February 2020, I was at exactly the same stage with my third book, Unbound Writing. And I'd taken myself off. I was in Glastonbury. I was there for another retreat, but I'd arrived a bit early, a couple of days early, and in an Airbnb, and, to have some dedicated time for my writing. So there's been this creative cycle for the past 4 years where I've moved from being in the completion stage of one book, birthing that later that year, and then in this, what's the word? Not percolation stage. Well, all the different stages of the creative cycle with this next book, The Abundant Author. And part of me had been judging on myself, like, why is this one taking so long? Like, oh, come on, just kind of get on with it, Nick, and write the freaking book. But what I see now is it's just been this gorgeous, like 4-year creative cycle. Like the timing of this is no accident. For me to be away at this time with this next book, exactly like to the day, 4 years on from being away at the same stage with my last book, like that would just be too much of a coincidence. Like there's been this gorgeous arc, this creative cycle that has been unfolding. And like I get to trust that, and you get to trust your creative cycle. I just knew this was a time to take myself away for this solo writing retreat. Like when we came into this new year, it's like, oh, okay, it feels like that's something I want to do. So trust those impulses, trust the timing of your particular project, of your particular book, trust your own creative cycle. And if you take yourself away somewhere, if you carve out time, like allow that to be the way it wants to be. Kind of follows on from last one, letting go of expectations. Just be curious about these creative cycles and the timing of your book or any other project that you're working on. Because I just find it pretty magical that, yeah, that exactly 4 years ago, I was in exactly the same place. Well, obviously not exactly the same place. Things have moved on over those 4 years. But it was really reassuring for me to recognize, okay, there's some kind of pattern here, and I don't get to mess with that. Or I could try messing with it, but yeah, it's not going to help. So trust your own creative cycle and take the pressure off. Take the pressure off. Like you get to a retreat is something that you get to enjoy. And part of it is having time to rest and restore yourself as the creative being you are. So that gets to be an element of your retreat as well. And just be open to the unexpected. My experience of any kind of retreat, whether it's a writing retreat or, some kind of spiritual transformational retreat, a business retreat, they never quite unfold in the way that you expect. Like there is always going to be magic that happens in the space. So just be really open to that. I mean, for this one that I'm just back from, to be honest, it did unfold. I think because I was open, I was as much as possible like taking off any or letting go of any expectations. So the magic that unfolded, like this group of deer came right outside of the cabin where I was staying when I arrived, like that kind of thing. The nature all around was just so, so beautiful. The magic, even though I couldn't have planned for it, I kind of have learned to expect the magic now. Just be open to whatever wants to unfold on your retreat experience. And like there is always going to be some kind of magic unfolding. So trust that. Trust that whatever happens in the space is exactly what needs to happen in the space. So I hope I've inspired you to carve out time for your own solo writing retreat. Maybe it doesn't happen straight away. Maybe, you plan it for later in the year. But just know, like I said at the beginning, it gets to be like it doesn't have to be some elaborate thing. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to cost any money. You can carve out time, like even in your own space, to be in relationship with your book. And this is something that we're going to be exploring some more this month, February, in the Unbound Writers Club membership. So the membership is a space where it's dedicated to creating a really powerful writing practice. So you can write your book, get into momentum with your book, and actually carve out time for it. And throughout February, one of the things we're going to be exploring is how to create your own personal solo writing retreat, how to create some really yummy time to spend with your book. And we're going to be doing that together in community. So everyone inspiring each other and seeing, what magic gets to happen when we carve out this dedicated time to spend with our books. So if you would like to be part of that and you're not in the membership already, like what are you waiting for? Come join us. It's £7 a month. And as well as having, like we have these we either have a monthly writing sprint or some kind of writing adventure. So in February, it's more adventure because we're doing the writing retreats, and it's all around the theme of romance, really romancing your book and being in a loving relationship with your book. So yeah, come join us. You can find all the details at unbound-the-unbound-writers-club. I think that's it. You can find the details in the show notes anyway. If you have trouble finding the details, always just pop me a message. You can find me on Instagram at Nicola Humber. But I would love you to come join us over there and create your own solo writing retreat. Regardless of that, do let me know if you're going to take some time out. Pop me a message, tag me on social media. I would love to see what you create. All right, I will be back again soon for another episode of the Unbound Writers Club. And in the meantime, here's to being in a powerful, loving relationship with the books we are here to birth. Sending you lots of love. What do you do when you want to write a book, but the usual approaches are leaving you feeling restricted, pressurized, not at all enough, and pretty dry, to be honest? You find another way, of course. And if you are listening to this, my free unconventional book writing guide is going to be perfect for you. It's designed especially for soul-led coaches, healers, and mentors who want to write a transformational book without spending hours on end chained to a desk. In it, I'm giving you my unique spin on the top 10 questions I hear from would-be authors, and it's going to help you liberate the way you write forever. Download your free copy of the guide now over at nicolahumber.com/10, the number 10, 10 hyphen questions.